The stars look different out here at the edge of human space. Admiral Dong Yun Kim stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the darkness through the reinforced windows. His fleet of 12 warships floated in formation, their hulls scarred from years of service. These were old ships, built with human hands and human ingenuity. They ran on fusion reactors and carried missiles that used simple chemical propellants. Nothing fancy, but they worked. Captain Jiwoo Park approached from the tactical station, her face tight with concern. "Sir, the Pioneer 7 is 3 hours overdue." They were mapping the Kepler junction. Dong Hyun nodded slowly. The Pioneer 7 was an exploration vessel, lightly armed and crewed by scientists eager to push humanity's boundaries. He had a bad feeling about this. Send 2 frigates to investigate. Tell them to be careful. But before the orders could be relayed, Lieutenant Hyeri Sung called out from communications. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission. It's not from the Pioneer 7. Put it on screen." The view screen flickered to life, and Dong Yun found himself staring at something he had never seen before. An alien face filled the screen. It had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, skin that shimmered with purple and blue scales, and a mouth that seemed to split the face in half when it smiled. The creature wore what looked like a military uniform covered in symbols Dong Yun couldn't read. "Greetings, primitive ones," the alien said through a translator that gave its voice a mechanical quality. "I am Velther, commander of the Galactic Concordat 3rd Scout Fleet. We have detected your presence in this sector." Dong Yun kept his expression neutral, though his heart raced. First contact. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. But something about Velther's tone bothered him. That word, primitive. "I am Admiral Dong Yun Kim of the Human Defense Fleet. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations." Velther's mouth split wider, and Dong Yun realized the alien was laughing. In the background, he could hear other voices joining in, a chorus of alien amusement. Diplomatic relations? How charming. "Tell me, primitive one, do you actually believe those crude vessels qualify as military ships?" Commander Minho Choi, the chief engineer, moved closer to Dong Hyun's side. His jaw was clenched, but he remained silent. They all did. This was the Admiral's call. "These ships have served humanity well for many years," Dong Yun said carefully. "I'm sure they have," Velther replied, still smiling. "Let me explain your situation. The Galactic Concordat consists of 47 advanced species. We have traveled the stars for thousands of your years. When we detected your primitive faster-than-light signature, we were curious. Imagine our surprise when we found you still using fusion reactors and kinetic weapons." The alien leaned forward, his 4 eyes gleaming. "We found your exploration vessel. The Pioneer 7, yes? Such a crude design. We took the liberty of scanning your technology. Chemical propellants, ballistic missiles. It's like finding a child playing with wooden swords while warriors carry plasma cannons." More laughter echoed from the alien bridge. Dong Yun felt his hands curl into fists, but he kept them at his sides. Jiwoo Park looked ready to explode with anger. Minho Choi's face had turned red. Hyeri Sung was staring at the screen with wide eyes. "I see," Dong Yun said quietly. "And what do you want from us?" "Want? Oh, primitive one, you misunderstand. We don't want anything from you. We're here to offer you guidance. The Concordat has a responsibility to shepherd lesser species. You will surrender control of your territory to us. We will teach you proper technology, proper civilization. In a few centuries, you might even be worthy of junior membership in our coalition. And if we refuse?" Velther's expression changed. The amusement faded, replaced by something colder. "Refuse? You cannot refuse. Look at your ships. Look at ours. We have energy shields that could withstand your entire arsenal. Our plasma cannons could vaporize your fleet in minutes. This is not a negotiation. This is us being merciful to a backward species that somehow stumbled into space travel. Behind Velther, the alien bridge was visible. It was massive, filled with holographic displays and aliens of different species working at stations. Through the windows behind them, Donghyun could see ships. Massive vessels that dwarfed the Indomitable, their hulls smooth and gleaming, covered in what looked like advanced weapon systems. I need time to consult with my government, Donghyun said. You have 3 of your days, Velther said. We will wait at the coordinates we're transmitting to you. Come to discuss your surrender. And do bring those adorable little warships of yours. We could use the entertainment. The transmission ended. The bridge of the Indomitable was silent for a long moment. Entertainment, Jiwoo Park said quietly. He called us entertainment. They're not wrong about the technology gap, Minho Choi said, his voice bitter. I saw their ships, Admiral. Those aren't just advanced. They're generations beyond us. Maybe more. Donghyun turned to face his crew. Every eye was on him. These men and women had served with him for years. They trusted him. They trusted humanity. And now they had been told they were nothing more than primitive children playing at war. Harry, get me a secure channel to Earth Command. Priority Alpha. Yes, sir. Minho, I want you and your team to analyze everything we saw in that transmission. Their ships, their technology, everything. On it, Admiral. Jiwoo, start running tactical scenarios. I don't care how outmatched we are. I want options. Jiwoo Park smiled, and it was not a kind smile. You're not seriously considering fighting them? I'm considering everything. They want us to surrender our freedom because they think we're too primitive to matter. They're laughing at us. They have plasma cannons, Minho said. Energy shields. Ships that make ours look like toys. Yes, Donghyun said. They have all of that. And they think that makes them invincible. They think we'll just roll over because their technology is better. He looked around the bridge again, meeting each person's eyes in turn. Humanity didn't get to the stars by giving up when things looked impossible. We didn't build these ships by accepting that we were too primitive to matter. Every system on this vessel was designed by humans who refused to quit. Every weapon was built by people who believe we deserve to defend ourselves. They're going to come back, Jiwoo said. In 3 days, they're going to expect us to surrender. Then we have 3 days to show them something, Donghyun said. We have 3 days to show them that primitive doesn't mean weak. That old technology in the right hands can still be dangerous. That humanity doesn't surrender just because someone tells us we should. Hyeri called out from her station. Admiral, I have Earth Command on secure channel. Good. Record this for transmission to all fleet vessels and Earth Command. Donghyun straightened his uniform and faced the camera. This is Admiral Donghyun Kim to all human forces. We have made first contact with an alien coalition called the Galactic Concordat. They have demanded our surrender. They have laughed at our technology and called us primitive. They believe we are not worth their respect. He paused, letting that sink in. They're about to learn why that's a mistake. Humanity has never been defined by having the best weapons or the newest ships. We've been defined by our refusal to quit, by our ability to adapt and overcome, by our determination to remain free. The Concordat is laughing at us. In 3 days, we're going to make them stop. 2 days had passed since the first contact. The neutral zone between human and Concordat space was now filled with tension. Admiral Donghyun Kim watched as alien ships assembled at the designated coordinates. There were 12 of them now, each one massive and powerful. They floated in space like predators waiting for prey. Dr. Yuna Lee stood beside him on the bridge, her tablet filled with notes about the alien species. She had been studying every second of the recorded transmission, analyzing their behavior and language patterns. "They're overconfident," she said quietly. "Every gesture, every word choice. They don't see us as a threat. They see us as a curiosity, an amusement." "That works in our favor," Dong-Yin replied. Captain Jiwoo Park was at the tactical station, running through the plan for the 10th time. Commander Minho Choi had spent 48 hours straight, analyzing the alien ship designs from the visual data they had captured. His eyes were red with exhaustion, but he had found something important. "Admiral, they're hailing us again," Lieutenant Hyeri Sung announced. "Put them on." Velther appeared on screen, now promoted to fleet commander based on the additional insignia on his uniform. Behind him was another alien, taller and more decorated. This one had 6 arms and skin that looked like polished stone. "Ah, the primitives arrive," Velther said. "This is Rexel, representative of the Concordat High Council. He's here to accept your surrender personally." "We have not come to surrender," Dong-Yin said. Both aliens stared for a moment, then burst into laughter. Rexel spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. "Commander Velther told me your species had amusing pride." "Very well. Allow us to demonstrate why resistance is futile." The alien fleet moved forward. One of their ships, smaller than the others, but still larger than any human vessel, broke formation. Its weapons powered up, visible as glowing points along its hull. "Watch carefully, primitives," Velther said. The alien ship fired. A beam of pure plasma lanced out and struck an asteroid floating in the neutral zone. The rock, easily 2 kilometers across, simply vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was vapor and debris. "That was 0.1% of our fleet's total firepower," Rexel announced. "Your ships cannot withstand such weapons. Your hulls would melt like ice in a furnace. Surrender now, and we will be merciful." "Noted," Dong-Yin said. "Lieutenant Sung, transmit our response." "Yes, sir." The human fleet began to move, but instead of advancing to fight, they turned away from the alien formation. The 12 human warships activated their engines and started to retreat. The alien bridge erupted in laughter. Velther was nearly doubled over, his 4 eyes gleaming with mirth. "They run. The primitives run like frightened children." "Pursue them," Rexel ordered. "Let's see how fast their crude fusion drives can carry them." The alien fleet surged forward, confident and careless. They spread out, no longer maintaining their tight defensive formation. Why would they? The humans were fleeing. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Jiwoo Park watched her tactical display with intense focus. "They're taking the bait. Formation is breaking up. They're not even maintaining proper spacing." "Minho, you were right," Dong-Yin said. "They build for power, not maneuverability." "Their ships are beautiful," Minho replied, "but they're designed for conventional warfare. Ship to ship, big cannons, overwhelming force. They'd never had to think differently." "Distance?" Jiwoo asked. 30,000 kilometers and closing. They're not even scanning for traps." Dong-Yun allowed himself a small smile. "Dr. Lee, would you say they're still laughing?" Yuna checked her analysis of the alien communications they were intercepting. "Oh yes, they're calling us cowards. They're making jokes about how fast we're running." "Good. Ensign Taiyang, bring us about. Now." The young helmsman's hands flew across his controls. The Indomitable spun in space, its older thrusters firing in complex patterns. The other human ships did the same, executing a maneuver they had practiced for 2 days straight. The alien fleet barely had time to react. They had been chasing retreating prey. Suddenly, that prey had turned into hunters. "All ships, fire pattern Delta," Jiwoo commanded. The human fleet unleashed everything. Not plasma cannons or energy weapons, but missiles. Hundreds of missiles. Simple, chemical-propelled missiles with conventional warheads. The aliens had seen this technology and dismissed it as primitive. They hadn't considered that primitive could still be deadly. The missiles came in swarms. Too many for the alien targeting systems to track efficiently. The Concordat ships opened fire with their plasma cannons, vaporizing dozens of missiles. But for every one they destroyed, 10 more came through. "Launch the drones," Dong Hyun ordered. Humanity's secret weapon deployed. Thousands of small, automated combat drones burst from the human ships. They were cheap, simple, and expendable. Each one carried a small explosive charge and basic guidance systems. Individually, they were harmless. Together, they were chaos. The alien targeting systems went haywire. They were designed to track and eliminate large threats. Now, they face thousands of tiny targets moving in unpredictable patterns. "They're trying to adapt," Minho reported. "Switching to area effect weapons. Expected. Jiwoo, execute Phase 2. The human ships broke formation, each one moving independently in patterns that seemed random, but were carefully calculated. They used their smaller size and greater maneuverability to stay out of the worst firing lanes. Then the missiles hit. The first alien ship took 3 direct hits to its aft section. Its shields flared and held, but the impacts pushed it off course. More missiles followed, hammering the same spot repeatedly. The shields began to flicker. "Their shields are rotating," Minho called out. "They're designed to spread damage across the entire defensive grid. But our targeting AI is learning. It's predicting the rotation." 2 more human ships focused their fire on the same alien vessel. Missiles struck again and again at the weakening shield section. Finally, with a flash visible across the battlefield, the shield collapsed. The next salvo of missiles struck bare hull. The alien ship didn't explode. It didn't need to. Its engines died, its weapons went dark, and it began to drift. Crippled and powerless. On the alien flagship, Velthor was no longer laughing. How? How are they doing this? Their weapons are primitive. They're using tactics we haven't seen in millennia, Rixall said, his stone-like face showing the first signs of concern. They're fighting like guerrillas, like insurgents. We outnumber them. We have superior firepower. And they're not fighting fairly, Rixall observed. Look at their movements. They're not engaging in honorable combat. They're using swarm tactics, overwhelming our systems with quantity over quality. A second alien ship took critical damage as a wave of kamikaze drones crashed into its weakened shields. The small explosions individually did little, but together they created gaps in the defensive grid. Human missiles followed immediately, exploiting every weakness. "Pull back," Velthor ordered. "Regroup at Rally Point 7. The alien fleet began to retreat, their formation in shambles. They had started this battle expecting easy victory. They had been prepared to accept humanity's surrender with magnanimous condescension. Instead, they were running. 3 of their ships were crippled. 2 more were heavily damaged. The humans had lost no vessels, though several showed damage from glancing blows. Dong-Hyun watched the alien fleet withdraw. His hands were steady, but inside, his heart was pounding. They had done it. Humanity had faced superior technology and won through creativity and determination. "Sir, they're hailing us," Hyeri said. "Put it on." Velthor's face appeared, but the amusement was gone. The 4 eyes were wide with something that looked like shock. This is not possible. Your technology is inferior. Our technology is different," Dong-Hyun corrected. "You fight with overwhelming power. We fight with adaptation and creativity. You assumed inferior meant weak. That was your mistake. Your mistake. The High Council will not stand for this. We will return with more ships. greater force. And we will be ready, Dongyun said. You wanted to make us surrender because you thought we were too primitive to defend ourselves. You laughed at our ships, our weapons, our determination. Are you still laughing, Commander? Velther's mouth opened, then closed. No words came out. Go back to your council, Dongyun continued. Tell them that humanity does not surrender. Tell them that we may be primitive by your standards, but we know how to fight. Tell them that if they want our territory, they'll have to take it from us. He gestured to Hyeri, who cut the transmission. The bridge of the Indomitable was silent for a moment. Then Jiwoo Park began to laugh. It started as a chuckle, but grew into full, genuine laughter. Soon, others joined in. The tension of the last 2 days broke like a dam. Admiral, Minho said, still grinning, the Concordat is about to learn a very important lesson about humanity. What's that? Never laugh at someone until you know what they're capable of. The news of the battle spread across human space like wildfire. Admiral Dong Yoon Kim had defeated the Concordat's demonstration fleet. Humanity had proven they could fight back. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath Geneva, military and political leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. General Soman Han stood at the head of the table. Her uniform crisp, despite having been awake for 36 hours straight. Intelligence reports confirm the Concordat is assembling an invasion force, she said, pulling up holographic displays. 200 ships. Maybe more. They're calling it the Grand Subjugation Fleet. Murmurs went around the table. 200 ships. Humanity had 43 combat-capable vessels total, and several of those were in desperate need of repairs. We're outmatched, someone said. We were outmatched before, someone replied sharply. Admiral Kim won because he understood something the aliens didn't. We don't need to match their technology. We need to exploit their weaknesses. At a research facility in orbit around Mars, Dr. Jinwoo Kang was working on humanity's response. His team had been given pieces of the alien ships that Admiral Kim's fleet had managed to capture. Debris from the battle, still sparking with residual energy. It's incredible, one of his assistants said, examining a fragment under a quantum microscope. The energy efficiency is beyond anything we can produce. For now, Jinwoo said. Look at the structure. It's designed for maximum power output, but it's rigid, inflexible. They've optimized for one thing, overwhelming force. They've forgotten how to be adaptable. He pulled up his analysis on a screen. Their plasma cannons are devastating, but they take time to charge and aim. Their shields are powerful but rotate in predictable patterns. Their ships are massive but turn slowly. Every strength they have comes with a weakness. Can't we exploit that in 3 weeks? His assistant asked. We have to. Across human space, colonies were preparing for siege. On the mining station above Titan, workers were building defensive platforms using whatever materials they had. On the agricultural world of New Seoul, volunteers were training in guerrilla warfare tactics. General Soman Han visited the training grounds outside of Seoul. Young soldiers practiced urban combat, learning how to turn every building into a fortress, every street into a killing ground. If the aliens managed to land troops, they would find no easy victories. Mom, one of the instructors called out. Some of the trainees are asking why we're preparing for ground combat. Won't the battle be won or lost in space? Soman looked at the young faces watching her. The Concordat thinks in terms of clean victories. Big ships, big weapons, overwhelming force. They'll expect us to surrender once they destroy our fleet. We need to show them that even if they win in space, the war won't be over. Every planet, every station, every colony will fight. We'll make taking human territory so costly that they'll think twice about continuing. Back in orbit, Intelligence Officer Suji Bae was doing what she did best. She was listening. Human deep space sensor arrays had been modified to intercept alien communications. The Concordat didn't know that humanity had cracked their encryption during the first battle. "They're so arrogant," Suji said to her team. "They're transmitting their battle plans in what they consider secure channels. They genuinely believe we can't understand their codes." She pulled up the intercepted data. Fleet movements, supply routes, tactical doctrines. Everything was there. "They're planning a direct assault on Earth," one of her analysts said. "They want to cut the head off the snake, force a quick surrender." "Forward this to Admiral Kim and General Han," Suji ordered. "And keep monitoring. If they scratch their noses, I want to know about it." On the Indomitable, Commander Minho Choi was overseeing the construction of humanity's response. In the shipyards orbiting Earth and Mars, engineers were working around the clock. "We're not building warships," Minho explained to a group of visiting officials. "We can't match their firepower ship for ship. Instead, we're building thousands of automated combat drones. Small, fast, cheap to produce." He showed them the prototype. It was barely larger than a personal transport, little more than an engine, a guidance system, and a warhead. "One of these can't hurt a Concordat ship. But 1,000 of them? 10,000? Their targeting systems will overload. Their shields will be overwhelmed. And while they're dealing with the swarm, our real ships can strike. It's like wasps attacking a bear," one official said. "Exactly. The bear is bigger and stronger, but enough wasp stings can bring it down." Dr. Jinwoo Kang contacted Admiral Dong Yoon with an update. "Admiral, we've made progress on reverse engineering their technology. We can't replicate their plasma cannons yet, but we've figured out how their shields work. Can we build them? Not in 3 weeks. But we can build weapons specifically designed to overload them. Focused electromagnetic pulse missiles. When they hit a Concordat shield, the shield's own power system will feed back and temporarily collapse. How many can you build? In 3 weeks? Maybe 200. Not enough to outfit the entire fleet." "Then we prioritize," Gong Yun said. "Outfit the strike ships first. The ones that will get closest to their capital vessels." Captain Jiwoo Park was running simulations day and night. Every possible scenario, every tactical option. The computers showed humanity losing again and again. The numbers didn't lie. 200 alien ships against 43 human vessels. Superior weapons, superior defenses, superior numbers. "The simulations assume conventional warfare," she said to Dong Hyun during one of their strategy sessions. "Ship-to-ship combat where both sides follow standard tactical doctrine. And if we don't follow standard doctrine, then the simulations are meaningless. We need to fight like we did in the neutral zone. Unpredictable, aggressive, willing to sacrifice." "Sacrifice," Dong Yoon repeated quietly. "You mean kamikaze tactics. I mean doing whatever it takes to win. The Concordat fights with honor and established rules. We fight to survive." Across human space, Captain Haon Lim was assembling carrier groups. The carriers were hastily converted civilian vessels, their cargo bays filled with fighter craft. Small, maneuverable ships piloted by volunteers who knew they might not come back. "We're not a military species," Haon told her fighter pilots. "We haven't spent thousands of years conquering other worlds. But we're survivors. Every one of our ancestors faced impossible odds and found a way through. That's our advantage. Not better weapons or stronger shields. The will to never give up." In the Concordat flagship, Rixo was meeting with military strategists. The alien known as Thelman spread his 3 arms wide, gesturing at tactical displays. "The humans are dangerous," Thelman warned. "They fight without honor. They use deception and trickery. They sacrifice their own vessels without hesitation." "They're primitives," Rixol said dismissively. "One battle where they got lucky doesn't change that. When we arrive with 200 ships, they will surrender or be destroyed. But what if they don't? What if they fight like they did before? Then we will adapt. We will use overwhelming force. We will blockade their worlds and force their submission. You're underestimating them, Thelman said quietly. And you're overestimating primitives who still use chemical rockets, Rixall snapped. Velthor lost because he was careless and overconfident. We will not make the same mistake. When we arrive at Earth, the humans will see true Concordat power and they will kneel. Back on Earth, Admiral Dong-Yun Kim stood in the observation deck, looking down at his home planet. Lights sparkled across the night side, representing billions of humans going about their lives. They were counting on him, counting on the fleet, counting on humanity's ability to defend itself. 3 weeks, General Soman Han said, joining him at the window. They'll be here in 3 weeks. We'll be ready. Will we? Honestly, Dong-Yun, can we win this? He was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. The numbers say no. Logic says no. Every tactical analysis says we should surrender and hope for mercy. But humanity has never been good at accepting what we're told we can't do. We were told we couldn't leave Earth. We did. We were told we couldn't reach the stars. We did. Now we're being told we can't defend ourselves against superior technology. He smiled. I'm eager to prove them wrong again. The Concordat has better weapons, better ships, better everything, Soman said. They do. But we have something they don't. We have desperation. We have creativity. We have the knowledge that if we lose everything. Our freedom, our future, our right to determine our own destiny. He turned to face her. The Concordat fights because it's what they do. We fight because we have no choice. That makes all the difference. 3 weeks. The entire human species held its breath, preparing for the battle that would decide their future. The Concordat was coming with overwhelming force, confident in their superiority, certain of their victory. They still didn't understand what they were facing. They still saw humanity as primitive, as inferior, as laughable. In 3 weeks, the laughing would stop permanently. The Concordat fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system exactly on schedule. 217 warships, the largest military force the galaxy had seen in centuries. They moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the distant light of the sun. On the bridge of the Concordat flagship, Velthor stood beside Rixall. The commander had been given one more chance to redeem himself by leading the subjugation fleet. He would not fail again. Scan for human vessels, Rixall ordered. Detecting 43 ships in Earth orbit, a sensor operator reported. They're maintaining defensive positions around their homeworld. 43 against 217, Velthor said. 5-to-1 advantage. This will be over quickly. Open a channel, Rixall commanded. On the Indomitable, Admiral Dong-Yun Kim watched the alien armada approaching. It was massive, overwhelming, exactly what intelligence had predicted. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations with calm efficiency. They had trained for this moment. They're hailing us, Lieutenant Hyeri Sung announced. Put it on. Rixall's stone-like face filled the screen. Humans of Earth, this is your final opportunity to surrender. You fought well in the neutral zone, but this is different. We have brought sufficient force to eliminate any resistance. Surrender now, and we will be merciful. Your species will be preserved, educated, brought into proper civilization. Resist, and we will destroy your fleet and occupy your world. Admiral Dong-Yin stood, straightening his uniform. His response was 3 words. Come and take it. The transmission cut. On the alien flagship, there was a moment of stunned silence. Then Velthor laughed bitterly. They're insane. They're actually going to fight. Then, we will grant them the battle they desire, Rixall said. All ships advance. Target the human fleet. Prepare to fire on my command. The Concordat Armada surged forward like a tidal wave of metal and energy. Their plasma cannons powered up, glowing with barely contained destruction. Their shields shimmered into full strength. This was the might of 47 species, thousands of years of advancement. The pinnacle of military technology. Against them stood 43 aging human warships. All ships. Execute Plan Omega, Dongyun commanded. The human fleet split apart. They didn't maintain formation. They didn't try to present a unified front. Instead, each ship began moving independently, weaving between orbital platforms using the moon as cover, turning Earth's space into a three-dimensional maze. They're scattering, Velther observed. Like frightened prey. No, Feldman said quietly from his station. They're positioning, setting up for something. The Concordat fleet entered Earth's orbital space, their weapons locked on the human vessels. But getting a clear shot was proving difficult. The humans were using every piece of orbital debris, every satellite, every structure as cover. Fire at will, Rixall ordered. Plasma cannons unleashed their fury. Beams of superheated energy lanced across space, vaporizing satellites and orbital platforms. But the human ships danced between the shots, their movements erratic and unpredictable. Launch drones. Captain Ji-Woo Park, commanded from the indomitable 10,000 automated combat drones, burst from concealed launch bays on every human vessel and orbital station. They swarmed toward the Concordat fleet like angry insects, each one a guided missile with basic AI. Insignificant, Velther said. Destroy them. But the Concordat targeting systems were designed for capital ship combat. They struggled to track and eliminate thousands of small, fast-moving targets. For every 10 drones they destroyed, 50 more came through. The first wave hit. Small explosions rippled across Concordat shields. Individually harmless, but there were so many. The shields flickered and strained under the constant bombardment. Second wave launch, Dongyun ordered. More drones poured into the battle space. Behind them came fighters from Captain Hound Lim's carrier groups. Small, maneuverable craft piloted by humans who had trained for 3 weeks straight for this moment. They're overwhelming our point defense, a Concordat officer reported. Too many targets. Then use area effect weapons, Rixall commanded. Plasma bursts, wide dispersal. The alien ships began firing plasma in broad arcs, creating walls of destruction that vaporized hundreds of drones at once. But it wasn't enough. The humans had produced too many. For every 100 destroyed, 200 more appeared. Commander Minho Choi watched his tactical display with fierce satisfaction. Their shields are at 60% and dropping. They're having to divert power from weapons to maintain defense. Now, Dongyun said, launch the real attack. Human warships that had been hiding behind the moon suddenly appeared, their engines at full burn. They carried the electromagnetic pulse missiles that Dr. Jinwoo Kang had designed. 200 missiles, each one calibrated to overload Concordat shield systems. What are those? Velther demanded as his sensors detected the new weapons that the missiles hit before he got an answer. They didn't explode. Instead, they released focused electromagnetic pulses directly into the Concordat shields. The alien shield technology, so powerful and sophisticated, became its own enemy. The energy feedback cascaded through the defensive grids. Shields across the Concordat fleet began failing. Impossible, Rixall whispered. They shouldn't have technology capable of this. They reverse-engineered our systems, Dahlman said. In 3 weeks. They studied our shields and built weapons to defeat them. With shields down, the Concordat ships were vulnerable. Human missiles, the same primitive chemical-propelled weapons the aliens had laughed at, now struck bare hull. The alien armor was strong, but it wasn't invincible. The first Concordat ship lost power, its engines dying as multiple missile impacts crippled its reactor. The second took a catastrophic hit to its weapons array. The third started to list sideways, its navigation systems destroyed. All ships. Kamikaze Protocol authorized. Jiru Park announced across the human fleet. Velthor saw a human destroyer break from the battle line. Its engines pushed to maximum. It accelerated directly toward a Concordat battleship. What is it doing? Is it trying to ram us? All crew to escape pods, the human captain broadcast. Execute in 10 seconds. The human crew evacuated while the ship, now under AI control, continued its suicide run. The Concordat battleship tried to maneuver, but it was too large, too slow. The human destroyer struck its side at full speed. Its fusion reactor was set to overload on impact. The explosion was visible from Earth's surface. The Concordat battleship didn't just take damage. It broke apart, its hull unable to withstand the force of a detonating fusion reactor at point-blank range. "They're destroying their own ships," Velthor said, his voice shocked. "What species does this?" "One that refuses to lose," Fellman replied. Another human ship executed the same maneuver, sacrificing itself to destroy a Concordat cruiser. Then another. The aliens began to panic. They had come expecting a conventional battle. Instead, they faced an enemy that fought with desperation and creativity, an enemy willing to do whatever it took to win. Lieutenant Hyeri soon coordinated the cyber attic. Human hackers, working with the alien code they had intercepted, launched digital assaults on Concordat communication systems. Not to destroy them, just to cause confusion. Orders got delayed. Communications became garbled. Ships lost coordination with each other. Captain Hound Lim's fighters harried the larger alien vessels like wolves attacking buffalo. They couldn't destroy the massive ships, but they could damage sensors, weapon systems, communication arrays. They made the Concordat fleet fight blind and deaf. The battle became chaos. The elegant alien formation dissolved into confused individual ships, trying to defend themselves against attacks from every direction. Human vessels used the orbital stations as cover, popping out to fire missiles, then retreating before return fire could strike them. More Concordat ships fell. 10 destroyed, 20, 35 damaged and limping. The humans were taking losses too. 7 ships destroyed, another 12 heavily damaged. But the casualties were nowhere near what the Concordat had expected to inflict. On the alien flagship, Rixall stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "This can't be happening. We have superior numbers, superior weapons, superior technology, but not superior tactics," Thalman said. "And not superior determination. Look at them. They're using their orbital infrastructure as weapons. They're sacrificing their own ships without hesitation. They're fighting like cornered animals, and there's nothing more dangerous than that." "We still outnumber them," Velthor insisted. "Do we? Count the functional ships. We've lost 40 vessels. Another 60 are damaged enough to be combat ineffective. Meanwhile, their drones keep coming. Their fighters keep attacking. And every one of their warships is still fighting." Another human destroyer executed a kamikaze run, this time targeting the Concordat flagship. Rixall's ship managed to destroy it before impact, but the explosion was close enough to shake the entire vessel. "Sir, engineering reports shield generators are at 20%, an officer called out. "We can't sustain this kind of assault much longer." Rixall looked at the display, looked at his damaged fleet, looked at Earth, where the humans were still fighting with unbroken determination. And for the first time, he felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries of military service. Fear. "All ships, fall back," he ordered quietly. The Concordat High Council chamber was silent. 47 species, thousands of representatives, all watching the recordings of the Battle of Terra in stunned disbelief. The footage showed their mighty fleet in retreat, battered and broken by a force they had considered primitive. Elder Chronix, the oldest member of the council, sat in his elevated seat. His species had been part of the Concordat for 3,000 years. He had seen countless wars, countless victories, but he had never seen anything like this. The humans destroyed 43 of our ships, one representative said, his voice hollow. They damaged 68 more. Against overwhelming numerical superiority, they used suicide tactics, another added. They destroyed their own vessels to take out ours. What kind of species does that? A desperate one, Chronix said quietly. A species fighting for survival. Rixel stood before the council, his stone-like face showing shame. He had led the subjugation fleet. He had promised quick victory. Instead, he had delivered humiliation. The humans fight without honor, he said. They use deception, trickery, suicide attacks. They don't follow any established rules of warfare. Perhaps, Chronix replied, that is because no one taught them our rules. We arrived at their borders, laughed at their technology, and demanded their surrender. What did we expect them to do? They're primitives. Velther protested from his position. He had been stripped of his rank after the battle. Their technology is centuries behind ours. And yet they won, Chronix said. Twice. That should tell us something important. Technology alone does not determine victory. Perhaps we have forgotten that, after so many centuries of easy conquests. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some demanded another attack with even greater force. Others questioned whether humanity was worth the cost of further conflict. A few, very quietly, suggested that maybe the Concordat had made a mistake. Chronix raised one ancient hand and silence fell. I propose we request formal negotiations with humanity, not as conquerors and subjects, but as equals. Equals? Rixel's voice was shocked. They're barely capable of space travel. They defeated our fleet, Chronix said simply. That makes them capable of more than we gave them credit for. We have a choice. Continue this war and lose more ships, more lives. Or admit that we were wrong and seek peace. After hours of debate, the council voted. The decision was narrow, but it passed. The Concordat would request negotiations. Ambassador Yunji Song received the message in her office on Earth. She was a career diplomat who would spend her life preparing for first contact with alien species. She had imagined many scenarios. None of them had included two major space battles before the first diplomatic meeting. They want to talk, she said to Admiral Dong-Yun Kim, who had been summoned to her office. The Concordat is requesting formal negotiations. Can we trust them? I don't know. But we need to try. We won 2 battles, Admiral. We might not win a third. They have more ships, more resources. Eventually, they could wear us down. So we negotiate from a position of strength. Exactly. 3 days later, a human diplomatic vessel entered Concordat space. It was escorted by 6 of Admiral Kim's warships, a reminder that humanity could defend itself if needed. Ambassador Song stood on the bridge as they approached the massive Concordat station where the negotiations would take place. Dr. Yuna Lee accompanied her as an advisor. The xenobiologist had studied the aliens more than anyone. Remember, their culture values strength and honor. They respect those who can stand up to them. We need to be firm, but not aggressive. The station was enormous, larger than anything humanity had built. As they docked, Ambassador Song felt a moment of genuine awe. The Concordat had been traveling the stars for millennia. Their accomplishments were incredible, but they had underestimated humanity. That was the important part. The negotiation chamber was circular, with seats arranged around a central holographic display. Representatives from various Concordat species filled the seats. At the head of the chamber sat Elder Chronix. Ambassador Song entered with her delegation. Admiral Kim walked beside her, his uniform showing the scars of battle. Dr. Yuna Lee carried her notes. Behind them came Dayan Ro, a civilian representative who had been chosen to show that humanity's government included more than just military voices. "Welcome," Chronix said in accented but clear English. "Please, be seated." They took their positions. Ambassador Song noticed the other aliens staring at them. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. A few looked almost frightened. "We have come to negotiate terms of peace," Chronix began. "The Concordat acknowledges that our initial contact with humanity was flawed." "Flawed?" Admiral Kim said quietly. "You demanded our surrender. You laughed at our technology. You attacked our ships." Rigzal stood from his seat. "Because your technology is inferior. Your ships are outdated. Your weapons are primitive. By any objective measure, you should not have been able to stand against us." "And yet we did," Ambassador Song said calmly. "Twice. Perhaps your objective measures missed something important. What could they possibly miss?" Velther asked bitterly from his seat among the disgraced officers. Dr. Yuna Lee stood. "They miss adaptability, creativity, desperation. You've been the dominant power for so long that you've forgotten how to fight against an enemy that doesn't follow your rules. You build bigger weapons and stronger shields and assume that's enough. Humanity doesn't have that luxury. We've had to innovate to survive. We defeated you not because we had better technology," Admiral Kim added. "We defeated you because we thought differently. We used tactics you weren't prepared for. We adapted faster than you could respond. Technology is just tools. How you use those tools is what matters." Captain Ji-Woo Park, also present as part of the delegation, activated the holographic display. It showed tactical analysis of both battles. You fight conventionally. Big ships, direct combat, overwhelming force. That works against enemies who fight the same way. But we fight asymmetrically. We use swarms instead of single powerful weapons. We sacrifice when necessary. We turn our weaknesses into strengths. The council chamber was quiet as they absorbed this. Then Chronix began to laugh. It was a sound like wind through ancient stones. "The primitive species teaches the advanced coalition a lesson in warfare," he said. "How delightfully humbling." He looked at Ambassador Song directly. "You are right, of course. We have grown complacent. We assumed our technology made us invincible. You've proven that assumption wrong. So where do we go from here?" Yoonji asked. "That depends," Chronix replied. "What do you want, Ambassador Song?" She had prepared for this question. "We want to be left alone to develop at our own pace. We want assurances that the Concordat will not attempt another invasion. We want recognition as a sovereign species with the right to control our own territory. And in return? In return, we're willing to share what we've learned. Our tactics, our innovations, our different way of thinking. The Concordat is powerful, but you've admitted you've grown complacent. Maybe humanity can help with that. Not as subjects being guided by superior beings, but as equals contributing to a shared community." Rigzal stood again. "I must speak. I led the attack on Earth. I lost many ships and many lives. The humans fought with honor, even if their methods were unconventional. They did not execute prisoners. They did not attack civilian targets. They defended their home with courage and skill." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was different, softer. "I was wrong to laugh at them. Wrong to assume their technology made them weak. I have learned respect for humanity the hard way." Arthur rose as well. As have I. The humans defeated me twice. At first, I was angry, humiliated, but I have watched the recordings. I have studied their tactics. They are brilliant in their own way, different from ours, but effective. Perhaps the Concordat needs different perspectives. Daeun Ro, the civilian representative, spoke for the first time. Humanity isn't interested in joining the Concordat just to be junior members waiting centuries to be considered worthy. If we join, it should be as equals from day one. The 48th member species with full voting rights and full recognition. Unprecedented, one council member objected. Every species has had to prove themselves over centuries before gaining full membership. Have we not proven ourselves? Admiral Kim asked. We've fought your fleets and won. We've demonstrated innovation and capability. What more proof do you need? Chronix raised his hand again, calling for silence. The human makes a valid point. Traditionally, species prove themselves through centuries of cooperation and development. But humanity has proven themselves through combat, through defending their sovereignty against overwhelming odds, through teaching us that we still have much to learn. He looked around the chamber at his fellow council members. I propose that we offer humanity full membership in the Concordat, with all rights and privileges, effective immediately. And I further propose that we establish a joint military training program, where Concordat forces learn human tactics and humans learn our technology. The debate lasted for hours, but in the end, the vote was clear. Humanity would be welcomed as the 48th member of the Galactic Concordat. As the formal treaty was being drafted, Admiral Kim found himself standing with Velther near one of the station's observation windows.